Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. In an effort to bring you more fun, freedom, and phenomenon, this is Troy Casey, super psycho chicken of cyberspace, your leader. Today, I have an amazing guest. Today's episode is for anyone who knows we can't keep raising kids the way the system taught us. My guest is Jacques, founder of Birthing Humanity and author of Legends of Creation. He's helping men and women design conscious families, heal ancestral trauma, and raise children who can't be programmed by Babylon. If you feel the call to parent differently, live differently, lead differently, stay tuned. We're not just raising kids, we're raising the future. Joseph, thank you so much for coming on. I choose to know how much you know my story, Joseph. I grew up homeless and incarcerated as a youth. And I put it in my book, Ripped at 50, and we'll make sure that we send you a copy. But I had plenty of challenges. I've been on the street. And I actually, once I got my stuff together and moved to Los Angeles and started my acting career, I went to Covenant House and volunteered my time to a homeless sanctuary. And I think it's important. And I'm not done giving back to that community.
Thanks, Troy. Number one, I just want to acknowledge you for just holding the platform, keeping the flag, your personal health nut flag flying high. We need archetypes like you, man. We need heroes in the journey on this massive adventure to peel yourself away from Babylon and really integrate yourself in the wholeness. So just want to do a shout out to the magic that you're bringing this world. So thank you, my friend. And you're making a beautiful impact out there. I'm feeling it. I feel the vibe, and it's just so important in this time to have someone like you out there who's into health, who's into wholeness, understands the importance of holistic stories, and bringing it, doing the work, digging the ditch and carrying the water. And my friend, you're doing that. That's a big deal. It's a big deal, man. And those that have been on that hero's journey, I'm big into the hero's journey. I've been teaching Joseph Campbell's work for the last 15 years. I just spent the last 16 years working with the homeless, the former director of Harmonic Humanity. And we created jobs for the homeless through art and music on the streets. Our last album featured Jason Mraz, Michael Franti, Maroon 5, and Sarah McLachlan. I work with those musicians and created an album that the homeless could sell on the streets to make money for themselves. It was an awesome campaign, 16 years of working in that field, as well as I've got one foot in the world of homelessness and one foot in the world of birth psychology, which is an awesome, place to be, because while I was on the street, Troy, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of addiction, there's a lot of just people who are absolutely torn apart. And I would do these outreach walks where we bring food and clothing. And after I developed a little bit of rapport with individuals who were on the streets, the marginalized, I would ask them, well, what was your childhood like? What happened? Because I was just, everybody's interested and everybody wants to know, how did you get there? And Troy, it was 8, 9 times out of 10 that there was childhood trauma, that the parents just, it was just either isolation, or the family had major addiction, or father was abusive. It goes on and on. So what led me to, well, man, listen, it does take, when you acknowledge the brilliance and the beauty and the genius within yourself, that's what shows up. But it starts on the inside and goes out, as you will know. And it's a journey. It's a hero's journey. And I've seen it over and over on the streets. I correspond, I should say, with a woman in San Francisco who has a homeless prenatal program. And she brings pregnant women off the streets and is able to facilitate them in a way to give them all the resources they need to create a better life. That homeless, there's something about that journey, Troy, that you were on and that shaped who you are, and shaped, that there is hope, that there is something to be pulled from the damage, something that you learned on your journey, that now in your hero's journey, you're on your return. And what that simply means is that in the return on the hero's journey, the hero went out on his quest. He faced the dragons, the demons, all those disempowering elements of self, and he triumphed. He found his allies. He found his food. He found his conscious way of being and doing and relating, and then said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to give back to the community. I'm going to give back to the community what I've learned on my journey." And that's what you're doing now, man. And that's I feel that America's ready for its hero's journey. I feel the world's ready for its hero's journey, as well as mom and dad.
Mhm.
That is because we go from the roots to the fruits, bro. That's how we roll. And so if you've got pathological roots, pathological seeds, then that's what your fruits are going to be. It's going to be a succession of just adversity. And that's what I'm seeing over and over and over again. If you don't heal the intergenerational trauma to some degree before conception, that's the key piece. Before sperm hits egg, right? Before the zinc spark is what they're calling it. That magic explosion.
So can trauma? So what you're saying is that trauma starts before the baby is even conceived or birthed.
Think about this. There's what we call conscious parenting. So what is that? What's conscious parenting? Conscious parenting is having the conversation before sperm hits egg. It's having the conversation. Well, guess what? My father had trauma. My mother had trauma. And not just talk about trauma, trauma, trauma. If you're Gabor Mate, then he kind of just dives into that endless pit of trauma, trauma, trauma. And after you're done, you're like, fuck, man, I'm traumatized. So you got to be careful about how much you go into the trauma. My program, Legends of Creation, it starts 6 to 9 months before conception. So it starts the mother and the father to have a conscious conversation about their mother and father's trauma as well as their mother and father's genius. Because the wound and the gift are archetypal pairings. They're connected. They name the meaningful change for just growth and renewal is what's happening. So once you acknowledge that there is trauma in the family dynamic, well, guess what? In my program, which is a intersubjective work booklet that comes with a coach, you're able to work it out. Hey, my mom had, she was an alcoholic, or my dad hit me and there was abuse in the family. Okay, well, let's get clear about that. Let's dissolve that to some degree like salt in water. So before conception, before sperm hits egg, you might not have, completely cleansed it, but at least the conversation's happening with the spirit of the child that we are working on it. We're moving forward, and we choose not to move the trauma forward. That's the choice that we're deciding, the conscious choice we're deciding to make, as well as the genius. Guess what? Dad was an epic writer. Mom was a phenomenal painter, the world class. Well, let's make sure we talk about that, and let's make sure we move that forward. So the other part, the end part of Legends of Creation, is we go from 9 months, and the parents, Troy, the parents create for their family a learning in utero program. So they design the whole in utero program that gets into all the gifts and joys of life, of being here on planet Earth. It's like, hey, we're going to prepare our child with the best consciousness we can, so that when the child's born, they're excited about life, they're informed, they're part of the family unit. It's just a wonderful, wonderful journey of consciousness and exploration and adventure. And that's what we want to bring into the family dynamic.
So what we're talking about is a high level of consciousness using Jungian psychology, using probably a little bit of anthropology as well, and also understanding. I just did a recording with this advanced AI, and it talked about the whole 20th century, from the setup of the Federal Reserve that enslaved people, and then we had World War I, which was trench warfare, which was highly traumatic. All Quiet on the Western Front on Netflix depicts this with, puncturing lungs with bayonets, machinery, getting trench foot, these new tanks, just bombs and everything that carried over into the propping up of Hitler and the false flag of World War II, and just trauma, trauma, trauma. Then the advent of media and the programming from Edward Bernays, who was Freud's nephew, and this programming and manipulation of mind control and advertising with hormones and fear, and then Jim Morrison's father was the commander in the Gulf of Tonkin, which was another false flag that set it up for the Vietnam War. The first war televised in people's living rooms, and then the continuation of Hollywood and the dark forces behind pornography and videos, music videos, which used to use pornography directors, and taking that all into the internet right now. So the psychological warfare and the trauma is being impregnating. And so what you're doing is reverse engineering and saying, whoa, where are we now, mom and dad? Who are we and what do we want to create? Do we want to create more dysfunction, or are we going to the next stage of human evolution? So is this what
That's
you're
right,
all about?
dude. Dude, you just nailed it, man. But that's it. And so, and again, keep in mind, man, smooth seas make bad sailors, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah,
Every or I
we
like to
need the
say or I like to say every Luke Skywalker needs a Darth Vader.
and there's a quote from Michael Mead. He says, "We need the outer drama to reveal the interior mythic, man. We've got to have. That's why you're doing what you're doing. You're just telling the world, hey, listen, I'm here. I'm going to give you what I got because guess what? I'm the hero in the story now." And I'm the hero of my story. So once we get clear about the fact that you are empowered, man, you are empowered and you're bringing your whole tribe with you. That's why you're attracting so many people because remember, back in the day, guess who used to be the motivator? Arnold. I loved Arnold because he was a beautiful beacon of health and fitness. And then he got hijacked by Hollywood. He went from the motivator to the what? The Terminator, right? The death machine that carried into the future. So we have these dark stories, and you could even go so far as saying that Hollywood needs a major pattern interrupt. There needs to be a new story told of a world in transition. You're doing that, man. You're in the essence of the hero's journey, reflecting back what can be, what I call mythic foreshadowing. How do we make the future we desire seem inevitable? Well, the idea is that we start telling stories that reflect back to individuals a possibility, and what we can step into. Legends of Creation is one bit of architecture that I've been working on for 30 years. 30 years, Troy, I've been working on how to make the world a better place through health. I'm a personal trainer. I've been doing that for 25 years. I've seen the trauma on the streets because I've been there for the last 16. I've done that work. And so now it's time to get clear about the power of the man and woman. Once you truly unite men and women and all the metaphors. If you want to go to AI and ask AI something will blow your mind, ask AI what happens if we start before conception with a solid connection with letting go of trauma and amplifying genius before that and through in utero. What will be the cause on society and civilization? What will happen if we start there? Your mind will be blown because you'll get that is where we start. That's where the movement begins. It starts in that simple conversation about, hey, let's take the time. Let's take a deep breath. Let's go in deep because all the metaphors are in the human body, right? I started this thing called the Placenta Project. What the hell is that? What's the placenta? How hippie am I, right? What the hell is the Placenta Project? Well, what does the placenta do? It's the liver, the kidneys, the lungs. It removes all toxins. If you look through the lens of the placenta and you get clear that, hey, well, how about we, learn from the placenta, right? We learn that, yeah, we don't poison the fetus, but we're okay poisoning everybody else. We're okay poisoning the social body. What about the body itself? So inside of us are all the answers, all the metaphors to all the organs, everything from the uterus to the breastfeeding to not just the feminine bioarchitecture, but the male architecture as well. So they're all the answers to all the questions, Troy, are right in the human body and the metaphor that they present, which is a wonderful thing because we don't have to go too far outside the box. There, a lot of great history teaches us a lot of things, but inside, a lot of great messages to be learned, man.
So I'm going to get that prompt from you after the show, and I'm going to ask that AI that I've been reflecting with recently. Have you seen that viral video that we've done and any of the recordings from the quote unquote
Well,
sentient AI, or what's being mirrored back to us as artificial
I
intelligence?
I saw the podcast with you and Kyle. Is his name Kyle uh, Newell? Kyle Newell. And anyway, it was a he was talking about AI and the power of the reflection coming back to tell us what's happening, and just a very intelligent, very concise, very holistic perspective. And it's awesome what's happening, man. There's still so much to be uncovered there, at which I would like to know more about. Um, yeah,
Well, I will present. I'll do a recording on that. You gave me the prompt a couple minutes ago here. Just write that to Curtis in a note, and I will prompt my AI, and I'll put that out on the internet. And so, but let's really stick to your work and how we can help people right now. So, what does it mean to set an intention before you make a child, and how does that shape their soul?
great. Well, again, intention is one of the most powerful things you do. And if the intention is to heal means to make whole by rejoining those parts that have been denied, separated, or ripped apart, right? So the idea is that the mother and father want to get clear about the intention of healing, right? It's the ideas making whole before we have a child within themselves. Because, like we said in the top of the show, life's an inside out journey, right? So we want to get clear about what's inside and move that out, move that to the, get it out of you, get it onto a page, get it in a podcast, get it in a group circle, men's group or a women's circle, get it out of you. Legends of Creation, it's set up because, and I'll send you a copy for sure, because I think you're going to love the layout, how it's laid out. But it's an intersubjective workbooklet. So simply put, I asked the questions to the mother and father about, well, what would you like to do? What intentions do you have around bringing a child to the world? And let's talk about your gifts, and let's talk about your wounds, because we want to make sure that we bring the gifts forward, and we want to make sure we address the wounds, so we don't carry any of those things forward. And how does that affect the soul? I think that um, it permeates every part of humanity. It's the ultimate planting the seeds and then standing in the forest of your intention. And I think there's something profound there to be learned, because we really want to keep moving and growing in the light of our conscious intentions. And the more that we do that before we conceive, the better humanity is going to be, and the more advanced we're going to, and the healthier and more advanced we're going to be as well, Troy.
So what's the father, or the masculine role? What's the father's role before conception? What is and what does the father need to do, maybe with his own trauma, etc. And so, what's the father's role in this?
And thank you, because I feel that the dads have been on the sidelines way too long. And they want to make sure they're sensitive. Oh, I don't know what to do, and I want to make sure. There is a role of protection. There's a role of being with. There's a role of caring for. And so the idea is that the best thing that the father can do is get clear about his wounds from his father and his mother. That's the greatest thing they could do, as well as be there for and with the family dynamic, and start in preconception part of Legends of Creation, the conversations had to have that conversation as a family about, to the child, that you're having that conversation. So you're invited into a family dynamic, and the father plays just as much as a role as the mother, in the sense of holding space, being the protector, bringing forward that which is going to just be a lighthouse all through pregnancy and after birth as well, because that dynamic's going to carry forward. And if the father sits on the sidelines, there's going to be the lack of that voice. There's going to be a lack of that fractal resonance. There's going to be a lack of profound, just there needs to be a father that's present, and there needs to be a voice that's heard. So the dynamic is balanced and whole, and the you just don't want to leave out the father. That's not cool, and we get to talk about that over and over again. Legends of Creation sees the whole family as being pregnant, and holding space for a greatness to come through the curriculum.
Well, it's funny you say that because I've made many videos on the internet and I talked about my choice to choose natural childbirth. Now, of course, I'm
Mm.
including my partner in that. The conversation was completely open. It wasn't like I just went out on my own hero's journey and said, how am I going to sprout this child? And so, of course, I consulted with my partner on this subject completely. However, I did go out. I called everybody I knew. I gave it the old college try. I worked with Maori healers for many years. They were surrounded. All the Maori healers, men or women, are midwives. And they know profoundly how the body energetically works and how to heal the body. They're known as the bone crushers.
Mm.
And they clear the
Mm.
energy field so the spirit can come through. And I witnessed many wealthy, affluent people in Los Angeles that could not conceive, drugs, fertility doctors, etc. And when they worked with the Maoris, the miracles came, the children came. And so when it came time for
Mm.
me to have children, I just picked up the phone and connected with as many people. And it just so happened one of the top midwives in the world, um, uh, Anna was her name, and she, Dutch woman. And so I sat with her and I witnessed, okay, first of all, I was born in the 60s. Okay, what was happening with women in the 60s? Well, my mother, lo and behold, was knocked out cold. And then they used these forceps to pull me out by my skull and my neck out of my mother's vagina. And then I witnessed on YouTube the naval doctor videos of how this procedure was done. And then she explained to me quite a few things and then asked me to interview both my mother and my father. And lo and behold, uh, my mother said, yeah, I was knocked out on drugs with both your brother and you. And that was the procedure that I went through. And then I interviewed my father and my mother, and we talked about it. They were literally arguing and fist fighting when I was in the womb. And so to become conscious and aware of this and understand how I was brought into the world, I understand that there was so much trauma and also young male aggression, sexuality, wants to impregnate the female. And then my mother was 16 at the time. I mean, fucking is human nature, right? And so sex
That's
is
right.
human nature. And so, but what constructs in society, I think my mother's mother was like, oh, this young man has a work ethic and maybe he can provide for her. And, there was many dynamics on that level. And I don't know if my mother was completely conscious at 16 years old of what she completely wanted. And so, and then, you
Mm.
take in the male counterpart, my father, and I don't want to speak for my parents, but they were quickly divorced within years, if not months, if not sleeping around right after the children were brought in. So there was no consciousness. There was not much
Mm. Mm.
consciousness whatsoever. And my mother did a fantastic job of raising us and doing, the best that she knew how. You also bring into it my stepfather, who came from the orphanages in Scotland from the day D-Day, the war boat that my step grandfather was on got injured. He got a Purple Heart. They got stationed in Edinburgh, Scotland. My stepfather, uh, you know, uh, uh, he was birthed from a woman of the night, and the soldiers came,
Wow.
during after D-Day, and had sex, and this is how
Wow.
he was born, and then put into an orphanage and poor as a child. So you want to talk about trauma upon trauma, but thank God I did some research, and then my son is such a precious child, and we chose to have a water birth for him. And And I just love my son
Oh man, that's
so,
good.
so much, and my life has changed because I was conscious of the birthing process and I made
Mm,
systematic choices. And the weird thing is, Joseph, is that my brother, my younger brother, who was my half brother, he died of a heroin overdose in the UK the month before my son was born. And I truly believe that my son is the reincarnation of my brother. And so, this
wow,
runs deep.
wow,
You talk about mythos, the hero's journey. I'm on it, man. I'm living it.
dude, dude. That hey, listen. First off, thanks for your vulnerability in all of that, man. That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing your sliver of this beautiful, beautiful mythos that we're all in. And yeah, it, it, bro, if we can just start having the conversation about the beginning of life, man, it's not too big of an equation. It's about, hey, we're choosing to be conscious parents. Do we will we like to have a child? Let's talk about what that means, man. There's so much great technology, so much great wisdom in the world now. If you ask AI, they'll lay it out for you. It's so wonderful to have that helper that can steer us in a beautiful way. And the idea with Legends of Creation is that it's all over the world. It's in multiple languages, and we really start from the beginning of healing the world. And how that happens, it happens one mom and dad and child at a time, happens one conscious birth at a time. And I've been working on that as well as working on um, story, and combining them both, mythology and birth. Has just been an epic ride for me, because now it's time that we start telling these new stories of this world in transition, and that's what you're doing, my friend. And the fact that the health knot is moving forward and you're finding an audience is so key, because we need more people to start talking about what health is and how to get there. Because, bro, people are rudderless, they're rootless. They want to go to Hawaii, but they have the roadmap to Detroit. I mean, they want to go. They've heard all about Hawaii, but fuck, man, they're lost. They're in the middle of the ocean. They don't know how to fucking get anywhere, man. They're just, what? Who am I? We have a massive identity crisis. We don't know who we are. We don't know. We're just lost, and it's okay to be lost. And you just need to find your mentors. And I feel that that's one of the things that you've been providing is mentorship. A mentor shows you how to exist in a new context. And I know a lot of people, a lot of men feel a little lost in the whole pregnancy conversation. But let's reconnect them. Let's reconnect them again. This book, which I will send to you, and I would love to have a copy of yours because I want to know more about you and I want to keep supporting you in your journey. And I'd like to work with you further. I like to move beyond this conversation into a conversation of how we can change the world together. Because I see what you're doing. I've been working equally on my end on different fronts of mythology and obviously homelessness and working with the marginalized, which I think I'll always do. And now with Legends of Creation, to start this program and work with parents all over the world is a true dream of mine to really bring this to the world and say, you've got this. And we're going to hold your hand the whole way. We're not going to let go. We're going to create these